All right, CNT125, Chapter 8. We're on the last section down here after VLANs. And they're introducing the idea to us of a virtual extensible local area network. This gets used when you have data centers connected across a data center interconnect, DCI. This is a way to have those VLANs, let me slide down here real quick, have those VLANs connect from data center to data center. And what it does is it uses a messenger encapsulated in a VLAN tagged header, VXLAN, Virtual Extensible Local Area Network tagged header that includes information for layer 2, 3, and 4. So we now have our header here, and this is that VLAN Virtual Extensible Local Area Network header that gets slid in there so that you can identify the VLANs across this data center interconnect. So I could have a VLAN 1 here be communicating with VLAN 1 equipment over here. That idea. So to connect our data centers together, we can be using this kind of encapsulation between the data centers. They also remind us about virtual private cloud. If we think back to our Amazon Web Services lab where we did a virtual private cloud, we actually created, I'll slide down here, we went through this process where we created our own VPC, where we were creating things like our own private subnet and our own public subnet. And with that, we then created some routing entries that we could route outside traffic into our web server that we spun up. So looking here, we had a private subnet, public subnet. We did that, and then we created a routing entry that we could actually get to our server from outside. That's how we were able to open up a new tab and browse into our web server and actually see it. There wasn't much there, but it showed us that it was running and gave us a little bit of information about that. And that was to our own virtual private cloud that we created for that lab exercise. So I said, think back to that one and you'll remember, oh yeah, I did create this virtual private cloud. I created a public and private subnet. And I even did a routing to be able to get traffic into it. And we even saw, if you paid attention, there was a Bastion host in there that was kind of like our gateway to let the traffic in to our private web server that we had created back there. And then they also remind us that latency can be an issue with some of these cloud resources. So some customers will have resources in a region so it reduces the amount of latency, or we can even use these content delivery networks that will distribute this to an area and get you basically a less latency connection. All right. That is the end of Chapter 8.